Hello everybody, my name is Marlowe and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Survival. So you know those times where you eat maybe a little bit too much food, and when I say a little bit I mean an absurd amount more than you probably should be consuming, and afterwards you can do nothing but regret your choices and stare at the ceiling waiting for some kind of relief that never really comes? Funnily enough, that's the exact situation I'm in right now. I went on quite a long hike today and I thought I'd come home and treat myself to a big old pizza, and I really wish I hadn't of, because right now I feel like I could just pop at any second. But hopefully I won't, and hopefully I won't in the game either, because today we're going to be doing some building, and the only times you really pop in this game is when a creeper explodes, and I don't like creepers around my builds. I don't know about you guys, but that's probably my least favourite place to find them. So today we are going to be building a new home for our farmer here, who has been stuck floating on top of this composter for far too long. He needs to move. Or I need to move him, I should say. He doesn't really have a choice in the matter. I was the one who put him up here in the first place. So I was actually speaking to this guy off camera, and funnily enough, he told me he actually really likes floating. So the new home we're going to have to build this guy needs to be some kind of floating home. So before starting this episode, I've been having a look around online for some ideas of what I could build in the sky. What could be a floating home? And eventually, after a lot of research, I stumbled across a balloon house by a wonderful builder by the name of Blockdown Builds, a very lovely person who makes beautiful buildings in Minecraft. I'm going to leave both of their links to their Instagram and their YouTube channel down in the description below for you guys to check out. Please do me a favor and go see what they're up to, because they make some wonderful things, as I said. But they created a balloon house which I thought was just wonderful. The design, the shape, the simplicity of it was exactly what I was looking for. Now, it's not an exact copy of Blockdown Build's balloon, however it is heavily inspired by it, so it does look quite similar. Whenever I use somebody else's build to construct my own, I try not to make an exact replica. I just use it as inspiration and do something similar and put my own little twists on it where I think I want to change it up. So before we start building our new villager home, I would like to make a couple of changes and additions to the buildings in our mining operation here. The first one being, in the ore sorter, I saw quite a few of you suggesting we add some black carpets to the top of our conveyor belt system here. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to look, considering we have some of the actual ore blocks blocking where I would place a carpet, but I'm hoping because they cover up a full block, or at least the bottom of it, it should actually look pretty seamless. So that way it looks as though the wheels are just going to turn down here and the actual carpet part is the conveyor belt bit and the ores are getting moved along. Now, it's not perfect. I'm not a huge fan of it on like this section right here, because you can actually see there's no black carpet, but generally, like on the corner there, that looks really good. A definite improvement, I would say. Good idea, everybody. Next up, I want to make a couple of changes to our redstone and lapis building over here, which is what we made in the last episode. And I've just finished reading through the comments that I have to read on that episode, and a surprising amount of you actually kind of like this building, which surprised me. Not because it's a bad building, but more so because there's a couple of choices that I made with this build that I personally am not too fond of. One of them being the colored glass. I just think it's too bright and colorful for the area that we're trying to build here. It just doesn't really match the theme, in my opinion. So what I'm going to try and do is change them out for either my black stained glass texture, which is that right there, kind of like this medieval glass, which I really like, or just simply iron bars. So here is the before with the red and the blue colored glass. Here is the new black stained glass. And here is the iron bars. The colored glass, the black glass, and then the iron bars. I am going to be sticking with the iron bars, as you can see. I just think that's the best of the three options. It's pretty neutral and goes with the rest of the build fairly well. Something I should probably mention, I'm going to keep these colored blocks up here with the blue on this side and the red on this side, just so we have a little bit of color in the build, and it does signify that it's for lapis and redstone. I'm combining the words again, and yeah, it's a very small amount of color. It's not too much, it's very subtle, so I'm going to keep it up here. And one last thing to mention before we can get started on this farmer's new home is I have got a couple of build ideas that we can do around this place that I got from you guys. Not going to be telling you what they are because I'll save it until the episode where we're actually building it. But yeah, you guys had some really cool ideas, so I just want to say thank you for all of the comments. So now I'm going to wave goodbye to my farmer and go and find a spot to build his flying home, and then of course proceed to actually build it. What a lovely, cozy, perfectly safe home this is for our villager. I'm sure he's gonna love it. I actually really do love it. I hope you guys do too. I think it's such a cool addition to our area here. It's kind of like the perfect little build. It's not on the ground obviously, but it just looks so cool up there. It's so fun. I really do quite enjoy how that looks. I've been debating on whether I should build some sort of airship for a while, something very steampunk themed. And I still may, to be honest. We could have several flying things. There's no reason why we can't. We got all the room in the world up there, especially with the new build height limit. But just doing something fun and simple like that, it's just got a lovely charm to it. I really like how that looks. Now, before we move our farmer in position, allow me to give you the grand tour of his giant mansion that he's going to be moving into. And we may actually have to make a couple of changes here. So as you can see, he's got his workstation, the composter, out the front here, which hopefully he should actually use, or at least go and stand by it. But if we take a look on the inside here, it's pretty nicely decorated, a very cozy atmosphere, but there's no crops for him to farm. Now, in a perfect world, I'd just change his profession to something else that made sense, like whatever this one is, a butcher, I think. But he's kind of stuck as a farmer because I've already traded with him, so I'm just trying to think how I could incorporate some sort of farm to his home here. So I've got two options. Option one is we make some sort of inside farm and just kind of place 3 dirt blocks along here, cover them up with trapdoors and plant some seeds on top of them. That would work fine. There would be no trouble there at all. Option two, which I kind of want to try out, is to replace this flower bed on the outside with the wheat farm. Now, the only problem with this is that it's a little bit unsafe. And when I say a little bit unsafe, I mean it's extremely dangerous, because if the villager falls, then he dies. Of course, if I did do this, I would have to switch out these trapdoors for signs or something like that. All mobs in this game, villagers included, view trapdoors as a full block. They see it as this flapped open, when in reality, it's like that. So that would happen anytime he stepped outside, which of course we wouldn't want. But if I did get rid of those trapdoors, I think he would be fine. I don't think there's anything that would actually cause him to fall. However, I don't know if I want to risk it. However fun of an idea it actually is, I don't know whether it's worth the effort of getting another villager up here if he does plummet to his death. And if we had to do that, then the poor villager that's waited in the boat down there for all this time has waited to fall off of his brand new house, which I don't think he'd be very happy about. So just to be on the safe side, I think we're going to go with the inside farm. I'm pretty sure villagers are dumb enough, they'll just end up walking off. I don't know whether trapdoors are going to complicate the actual doorway here. I might have to switch these out for signs if he's being a little bit funny with them. But we can go ahead and plant our seeds, grow them up so they're ready to be harvested. And now I think we're ready to actually move our little villager friend into his new home. So the rail line is in place, looking very sturdy and structurally sound as always. And we, buddy, are ready to ride it, is that correct? He's very excited. So we are going to be doing this the old-fashioned way, using one of the most underutilized items in the game, a furnace minecart. I don't know if I've ever actually used this, come to think about it, but I thought this would be the best way for it since we've got a really steep incline and we need to get up that hill. So we're going to break our boats here. Don't do a runner. You're going to hop in that. You're gonna hop in the minecart. There we go. And then we're gonna put this down and we're just gonna send it on its way. And hopefully that should have enough speed to get him. I mean, he went so far up. If we just keep feeding the minecart furnace with fuel, I might have to just fly and keep up with it a little bit here. Actually, one coal seems to be doing it. This is going swimmingly. Why is it going so well? Oh, let's not die. That would ruin things. Man, one coal has like supplied that furnace all the way up to the top. It's still going. Okay, I basically needed to do nothing. My new favorite item in the game right there, rolling along. Along with our villager, who we should probably make sure gets in okay. So let's just follow him right to the end here. In he goes. I'm going to stop that right there when it comes. We'll just break a couple of rails here. There we go. We'll break all of these. We'll get your fence back in position. There we go. No escaping. We'll get these blocks back in place too. Open the door. Break your little minecarts here. And there you go. You are home, my friend. And as you can see, he absolutely loves it. He is definitely not internally panicking, wondering what on earth to do with himself. How did he get here? Why has he just been put in the sky, left to his own accord? Nope, he's not thinking it at all. He is just thinking how lucky he is. Well, goodbye, villager, who, by the way, probably needs a name. So let me know your suggestions down in the comments below. We can give him a name tag or just an unofficial name next episode, so let me know your best suggestions. But goodbye, buddy, for now is what I shall call you. I will maybe pop up and check on you every couple of months, maybe give you some supplies. I mean, you got 3 wheats there to keep you going. You could probably make a single piece of bread a day if you're lucky. So yep, have fun, and I will maybe see you soon. Maybe I'll never see you again. Honestly, I'm not sure, but as long as you're enjoying it up there, right? Can I just get a lack of movement as confirmation? There we go. Absolutely no movement at all. He must be having the time of his life. So I've just thought of the best name possible for our villager. Carl Fredrickson. From Up, right? Flying house on a balloon. It makes perfect sense. I still want to know your name suggestions, but at the moment, that name right there is definitely leading the way. The ugly dirt rail line has been destroyed, as you can see, along with the original composter. So our area over here, the mining operation, doesn't have a weird eyesore in a floating villager, which is nice. And before we get started with our next build of today's episode, I would just like to actually come and check on Carl/Buddy/ whatever you guys choose to name this guy up here, just to see how he's doing. You probably shouldn't stand on candles, my friend. That seems unwise. Well, he's having a great time, clearly. I've just thought the reason as to why he may not be harvesting this wheat here is either because it's unhydrated, like I was mentioning earlier, or the fact he has other seeds already in his inventory. Like if he was previously a carrot farmer, then obviously, you know, he's not going to want to farm wheat, which is a possibility. So I'll do that for now, and then maybe I'll keep coming back and maybe switching out the crop types till he actually starts harvesting them. So we've got a little bit of time left in today's episode, so I thought we would construct another building over here in our mining operation. And the build that we're going to be making today is actually the building for iron, just here, gold and copper. And it's basically going to be like a general smelting / smithy building. As with the 3 builds we've already done in this area, this build is going to be rather large, not super big. I've made bigger buildings, but I've certainly made smaller buildings, so we do need quite a lot of room, and we're not exactly running out, but I do need to be careful where I actually put these buildings, considering we're probably not going to have any more than 5 or 6 main buildings, so I don't want to put them too close together. So I think, just to be on the safe side, I'm just going to do it like opposite this one. So over here in this general area. And then I'm thinking when we get to building the diamond and emerald building, that could maybe go on top of the hill over there if I just kind of flatten that area out a little bit. And then I got a couple of spaces maybe around about here and possibly on that big flat area for another one. So with that very rough plan of where all of the buildings are going to be going in place, I'm ready to gather all of my blocks and get started on building the iron, copper and gold smeltery / smithy. So here is the newest addition to the mining operation, and I think it's my favorite one yet, if I'm being completely honest. There's just something about this building which I really like. I think it mostly comes down to the shape of the building. It's not symmetrical for a start, and nothing against symmetry in building at all. I've used it more often than not probably in this world, but it is a whole lot easier to build a semi-symmetrical building. So for example, this one right here, this side as well as the other one are virtually identical, and the front and the back are pretty similar too, and the roof isn't anything complicated. That I can maybe whip up in a couple of hours in a creative test world. Doing something like this, which still is a cohesive build and everything looks like it belongs together, but it's also simultaneously a little bit all over the place. Doing something like this when I'm designing it takes a whole lot longer, just because there's quite a lot of fine tuning, and just getting started with the build is super difficult with something like this, because when you're doing something symmetrical, you can kind of have a good idea of what all of the sides are going to look like. Whereas this, you don't really know where you're going to go with it, which I didn't. So you saw at the start of the time lapse, there were just a bunch of basalt pillars for a very long time. That's basically how I started this. I did the main building in the center by laying out the pillars, and then I wanted to have a bunch of roofs coming off of it, so I kind of plotted them down too, and then I did all of the roofs and just kind of filled in the walls the best I could. And yeah, doing something like that with a non-symmetrical build that is a little bit chaotic but also really nice looking, it definitely takes a while to build, I would say. It's certainly worth it, but yeah, it definitely takes some time, and occasionally when you're doing something like this, you'll get so far into it and realize it's just not working and you'll have to restart entirely. Usually when I get in that situation, I will try my absolute hardest not to restart, just because it saves me a lot of time. So I will do a whole bunch of tweaking on a build before I decide to just scrap it and start again. Thankfully, when I was building this, it all went surprisingly smooth. One last thing to mention before we head inside and check out the interior is I just really like this block palette. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's the combo of the prismarine, the warped and the basalt, then contrasting with the copper and the jungle, which makes up for most of the blocks used, except from we got some deep slate and calcite down here, which is always a great combo. The black and white looks very good, but yeah, I just really like how the blocks came together and all look quite nice placed next to each other. Also, prismarine bricks, I don't think I've ever used them in a build, at least not for a very long time, and not many people like this block. I don't see it all that often, but I don't think it's all that bad. Maybe it would be a bit too much if I, you know, switched to prismarine with the prismarine bricks and had a bunch of these in a row, but I personally actually really quite like them, at least in small quantities. Anyway, that's enough chatter about the exterior of the build. I think let's head inside and I can show you what I've done for now with the interior. So at the moment, we are missing a couple of things. I want to put some items using the statues book, some stuff on the tables here, some stuff on the tripwire hooks, and we got some more of that upstairs. But I can kind of show you the bare necessities of how this sort of area is going to work. So I guess we actually need to start outside technically. So this is where the ores are going to be piled up on. You can see the copper, the gold, and the iron. I think I said that the wrong way around. Copper, gold, iron. They fall into the stone cutter here. Same sort of deal as we did with the coal building over there, where they kind of pushed in and grinded up and got a little like collection area down here, which I'm assuming you would just kind of have the ore because all of the stone would have been broken apart, and you can then put it into the furnaces here we have next to this wall. And then, once the ores have been smelted into ingots, it can then be brought over here to the crafting section. And as I've said before, this is meant to be a smeltery slash smithy. So whoever's working in here can also forge some tools. Probably only pickaxes, I would guess, for the miners that are going down into the caves. So that's kind of what we're going to put on display here. Some pickaxes hanging up, some maybe being in the middle of forge there with our big old furnace. We just got this kind of big table in the center to do some work on, and then a smithing table and crafting table over here in the corner. Over in this section is just sort of general storage. I've piled up some of my note blocks and barrels and chests, which always looks very nice. And the last thing I actually need to do down here, which I forgot to do, is add a nice little painting here on this spot because this place seems very down and dreary. I think they could use a little bit of happiness in the painting there. And so once the tools have been forged down here, they are then taken to the upstairs where you can go along the balcony, which I really like this part of the build. It's possibly my favorite addition to it. I did not plan for it when I started doing this. It's kind of just how the roof placement turned out. I had this leftover space and I thought, let's make a balcony up here. But when the tools are all done, they can come up to this top section, which is only a small little room just because of how the walls are built, and we can hang them on the tripwire hooks again and put some of them on display on the shelves with the trapdoors here. So now, super quickly, I'm going to go around, add in all of the details with the armor stand book here, and I'll give you another very quick tour. Now, I haven't gone too overboard with this because armor stands can cause quite a bit of lag from past experiences. Quite a lot actually. So I've been rather lenient with how many I've actually placed down, but we got a pickaxe and an iron ingot on the table here. I wanted to add a stick to show kind of like the crafting process, but I just could not get it flat on the surface here. Sticks are a bit different to other items apparently. We got a gold helmet here on top of the smithing table, which has actually just been piston push on top of some snow layers to get it to that exact height. Now, I know it doesn't make much sense to have a gold helmet. They're not very durable. Gold isn't really a good material for this sort of thing, but it kind of looks like a hard hat, right? So that's kind of the idea there. We've got some more tools up here by the forge, and then we can go upstairs and we find in this little room just a few more tools on display, as you can see. So the iron, of course, is being used to make all of the tools, which are then being redistributed to the miners in this area. And I'm gonna say this isn't a gold helmet because having a gold helmet hard hat makes literally 0 sense. So all of the copper and gold that is made here, that's kind of what this storage is for, right? So it can just be stored in these barrels and whatnot, and then at a later point in time, shipped off to somewhere else. So that's, everybody, is gonna do it for today's episode. Before we say goodbye here, let's just do one last check on our flying villager up here in his new home, see how he's getting on. I actually switched out the wheat for carrot and potato to see if he'll harvest them, and he has not touched that either. I think he must really want to become a butcher because last time I checked on him, he was also on top of that furnace. But if you don't want to work, that's fine. You can just peacefully live up here. I will not be stopping you. But thank you everybody so much for watching this episode. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.